All right, we are recording. So happy Monday and welcome to the Farrar team Zoom that we have weekly on Mondays. And we are now going back to scheduled programming, which is 9 p.m. on a Monday. I am Michelle Fletcher. Those of you who don't already know, I'm a senior sales coordinator under the Farrars. I'm actually direct to Sharon. I'm excited to be hosting the call for them tonight. They're on a plane coming back from British Columbia. It looks like they had an amazing time. I'm so jealous, but I know they're going to be filling us in on all the good stuff they did while they're away to just regroup and rejuvenate. And then they get to do the same thing in October when we go to conference. And so we have a couple of topics we want to cover today. First of all, as I mentioned, I've been doing this business for 7 years. I've been connected with Sharon this entire time. I love this team. I feel like her team just has like such a good energy. There's so many amazing people that flow from under Sharon, and I love every single one of you that I get to meet. So just get to know my face, say hello at conference because we'll be seeing each other soon. I hope everyone here is going to conference in October. I'm a Florida girl, so I will definitely be there. And I don't ever miss a conference because that is the one or the 2 times a year where we actually go into the office, right? We have freedom to work wherever we want. We work on vacations. We work wherever, whenever. But for those 3 days, we get to really get filled up by our company, learn the newest updates, hear the latest and greatest from the doctors, and then just be within the community where you're hearing amazing stories of transformation with people's health, their finances, you name it. And so hope to see everyone there. So there's 2 things I want to mention before we get this show on the road. One is that this is the last week of the month. And so this is the time to really take a look at your genealogy report, make sure you don't have any declines, really make a strong push for the end of this month, because unlike other months, we're not going to have a qualifiers day this month. They really want to make sure we get paid on time in September. And so they don't want to prolong the end of the month due to the holiday to do a qualifiers day. So push hard this week because we're at the finish line pretty much. And those of you that are going for promotions, that will count for walking the stage at conference or being recognized at conference. This is the week to just get it done. And anything can happen. Like Nalani calls her team, infinite possibilities. There are infinite possibilities that can happen in the next 4 days. So let's do that. And then the other thing I want to mention is that our Shred 10 is starting in September, on September 10th. And so now is the time to really start promoting that. If you do plan to be doing the Shred 10, now is a great time to promote it because it gives people the time to get their products, to ask questions and to make that decision. And then for them to join us in the group, which is so good. The group helps support you those 10 days. And so keep that in mind. And if you ever have questions on what to post, you can always put a question in the Teen Transformers Facebook page. And there's an amazing variety of posts. I mean, most of the time I see a sideline buddy posting and I think it's so good that I copy it and everyone's like, yeah, sure, you can copy my post. And I feel the same way. Feel free to copy any post you like. So just keep those 2 things in mind. Tonight we're going to talk about conference, and then we're going to talk about objections. And I mean, these are objections that all of us face within this business just from sharing Juice Plus and hearing the feedback that we get from people. We never know what they're going to say, right? So first we want to talk about conference, and I'm going to turn it over to Nalani to share why conference is so amazing and so important and vital to your business. So Nalani, if you don't mind, Nalani is also a senior sales coordinator on the team, and she's also a naturopathic doctor. So it's just amazing. So Nalani, you can take it away.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Would you mind muting everyone, and I will unmute myself. There's some background noise going on, and that way, all right, the noise that's going on. All right, conference. Why is it so important? First of all, this is a profession. This is a profession. Now, what I'm going to say is going to be directed at those who want to make this a success, and I mean that in the way that everybody wants to be successful at what they want to do. And some people want to make enough money to cover their Juice Plus. That's all. And that's a success. Some people want to make enough money to just pay maybe $100 bill every month. That's a success. What I'm speaking of, though, is for those who want to have more than just $50 or $100, because you could do that, and you could probably do that and not come to conference. So just filter everything I say through that, if you will. This is a profession. And if you pick a profession, any kind of a profession, you know that there's education that comes with it. First of all, there's education. There are three things I'm just going to point out tonight. One is education, the other one is confidence, and the third is that this is a profession. And I've already mentioned that. All righty, so education. When we come to conference, we get an opportunity to see what we have our hands on. And I say this that goes with all three of these points, and that is that if you haven't yet been to conference, then your business hasn't begun yet. Now that might sound kind of weird because you may be making money. You may have some customers, but your business has not really begun until you have come to conference, until you know what it is you have your hands on. So education is the first thing that we get when we come. We get an education that is similar to if you were to go to college and to get educated for your profession. And we do it twice a year. Now, the other thing is confidence. When you come back from conference, you are going to have a different kind of confidence that you have now. Some of you are very confident already, and you know how you can be successful at whatever you do. That's not the kind of confidence I'm talking about. I'm speaking of confidence that this business is the one that I can be very successful at, because now I know what this is about. Now I know what I have my hands on, and I know I can do it. The experience that you get is going to be so personal. It's not the same experience that somebody else may have had. So when we come back from conference, we always talk about how wonderful it was, and we share some of the things that we take away. And we try our best to bring back, for those who couldn't make it, or those who chose not to make it, or those who couldn't make it for whatever reason. And personally, the only reason I would miss is if there was a death, God forbid, a death in my family, or myself being so ill that I couldn't move. Because to me, not being at conference is not an option if I'm going to be successful in what I do. And that's all a part of this franchise. And remember, it is a franchise. So remember, if you were going to go to a McDonald's and you saw a McDonald's emblem, you would think twice about going in there. I don't know if that's the real thing, because every franchise has every component that makes it successful. And conference is what makes it successful. Moving on, part of a profession, every single thing that we have learned so far is part of this profession. And we get to learn, we get educated, but we also get to learn, as I mentioned before, how we personally can be successful at what we do. And it may just be one thing that somebody says. They may have said something from the stage, and usually it is, because there's a lot that comes from the stage. However, somebody may say something in an elevator that flips the switch for you and sets you on the path to success. What you take away is personal to you. And when you get to see the success of others, something happens inside and you get to say, I can do this. I know I can do this. And you will be so ready to bring it home to others. That's why I encourage you to invite your new people to be there so that they can learn for themselves. I'm going to read one thing to close because I know we've got other things to talk about. And this is from Eric Worre from GoPro. You know, this is my quote Bible, end of quote. And he talks about conference. And he says, when I first started in this profession, I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't have the money and I couldn't afford the time. I had the same obstacles as everyone else, but something happened to me at my first event that changed everything. I scraped up enough money to get there, and it was a mind-blowing experience. During one of the sessions, I stepped out to go to the bathroom, and when I came back to the entrance, I found myself standing next to one of the top income earners in the entire company. It was like standing next to a celebrity. He had achieved what I wanted to achieve and more. I stood there trying to think of something smart to say, and finally, I just introduced myself and said, "What's the secret?" Today, I know there isn't a secret. However, he said, "Do you see this room? It holds about 2,000 people. We have these events about 3 times a year. We have them twice a year. Here's the secret. At the next event, half of these people won't come back. But the other half that does will be making twice the average of everyone else in the room. Your job is to be in that 1,000 people who come back. And it doesn't stop there. At the next event, half of those 1,000 won't come back. But the 500 who do will be making 4 times the amount of the average in the room. This continues from event to event. And that's how we judge our progress, from event to event. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Nalani. And I will share my first experience with conference. When I first signed up as a new rep, I didn't know anything about the business, never been in a business like this before in my life. And they had recently come back from conference and they were so excited. And I was just like, whatever, I doubt I'll ever go to conference. Well, 6 months later, I did go to conference because I didn't have a vision for what this business was going to be. Honestly, I just really joined the business so I could get a discount on what I was using to help pay for what I was using because I needed the extra funds. And I went to that conference and it's hard to explain. It really is hard to portray what you experience because between the people you meet, the people that you see on a stage, the stories you hear, and the community. And I mean, she mentioned 2,000 in that Eric Worre book. I think that was back, 20 plus years ago.
Right.
There's like 8,000 people at our conference. And some of them come from around the world. So it's just incredible, the people that you meet. And we're all on the same mission. And we're all just, it's incredible to be with your people. It's like you're with your tribe and there's thousands and thousands of you. And everyone's just there like hugging and trying to lift you up and just so open and welcoming. So you have to come and experience it for yourself if you've never been. And if you have been, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so next we're going to move into the next portion of this call or Zoom, and we're going to be talking about objections, which we all get objections. I've been doing this for 7 years. A lot of the leaders on here have been doing it way longer than me. And we still to this day get objections. It's nothing new. People are just, if they don't know what they're getting into, they're going to have a wall up and then they'll have something to combat what we're trying to share with them. So we thought it would be a great idea to address some of the most common objections that we hear out there. And so to start, I'm going to call on Karen. So Karen, get ready. One of the first objections that we're going to cover today is the one that Juice Plus is too expensive. Don't we always hear that? It's too expensive. And a lot of times they haven't gotten enough information to know what they're getting. So Karen, how do you handle that objection? Juice Plus is too expensive.
Thanks, Michelle. So I think that I heard that a lot more in the beginning because one of the things that maybe one of the Zooms we can talk about is the 4 beliefs. I thought of that because while we all believe in the product when we get started and you think, oh my gosh, this product is amazing, building your belief in the product gives you such self-confidence that you start to know that this product is valuable and it's not expensive. But I think sometimes in the beginning, you're a little nervous when that objection comes. So I was in sales for a long, long time. And it's so wonderful that you don't have to be a salesperson to be in this business. But one of the things we always learned and we encourage with this business too is whatever objection it is, try and come up with something in your head and use the feel, felt, found. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that before, but when somebody says something like, gosh, that seems a little expensive. And I tell you, the only time I really hear that now is if I do a trade show and I do a booth and I'm talking to somebody and they, I'm talking to them and they come right out and they say, well, how expensive is it? And, I'll try to go into a little bit of detail, but sometimes they'll say, oh gosh, well, that's just too expensive or that seems expensive. And I'll say, gosh, you know what? I know exactly how you feel because I felt the same way 14 years ago when I started and I was looking for something when I was pregnant with my son. But I wanted, what was best for myself and my baby. And what I found was after a little bit of research, oh my gosh, all those vitamins that I was eating, I was taking a multivitamin and I was taking a calcium and I was taking a folic acid and I was taking all these, different vitamins. They weren't doing anything for my health. There was no research, and then by the time I added them all up, they were just as expensive as the Juice Plus, but they weren't as good because this is fruits and vegetables. So you can kind of come up with your own answer on how you felt, but using feel, felt, found is good. Another way you can do that is always when somebody says something is asking them a question to find out, because sometimes people will just give you an objection when it might not even be their real objection. They might just have a standard, oh, that seems expensive, and if we can overcome that, if we can overcome any of the objections that they've got, then they have no real answer to not get started on Juice Plus. So a couple of the questions you can also ask are, what are you comparing Juice Plus to? Because a lot of people buy vitamins at CVS or Walmart, buy one, get one free. I mean, we know that that's not, oh my goodness. I mean, that's not even apples to apples at all. So you can't compare that. So then that becomes an education. That's not even a price thing. That's really more education. They need to know more about why Juice Plus is so different. And how much is your doctor visit copay? So we all know people who are either sick or their kids are sick all the time. And I don't know about you, but our insurance, my copay to take thank God they don't really go to the doctor for being sick. They go for stupid things like injuries, but it's $45 to go to the doctor. That's a children's health study for a month. One copay, for my kids is a children's health study for the whole month for one adult and one child. So I bring that up to people and that's a huge aha. So asking them, gosh, what do you pay for a copay visit? And then you're on antibiotics and then you might be on something else. And then the other one that I love, and this really, I think, puts it in people's heads is, what if I gave you $2.50, because that's what it costs to do the trio, okay, fruits, vegetables, and berries. And we know that that's nutrition from 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries every day. What if I gave you $2.50 and sent you to Walmart to buy as many fruits and vegetables as you could? How many fruits and vegetables do you think you're going to come back with? I mean, I think like an apple is $1, maybe you could get a banana for pretty cheap. So you're not going to come back with many. And you would come back with like 4 berries, I think, because berries are so expensive. So, a lot of times the objection is just, coming up with things and kind of agreeing with them, not making them seem like, oh, that's stupid. I can't believe that you think that that's expensive. But, kind of agreeing with them and kind of answering their questions and giving them the education that they need. That's it.
I love that. Thank you, because you gave us such a variety of ways to respond, especially with the asking questions. We find that a lot of times when you ask questions, you get deeper into what the issue is. So I love that. And then I know, Karen, you had like written out and typed up how you answered that objection, right? Are you going to share that with us?
I can. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That was really good. I still continue to learn. Let me tell you, one thing I love about this business is that we are always continuing to learn. And it's always nice to hear how, our sidelines or our buddies in the business do things too, because it might just, make what I'm doing a little bit better. So our next objection, Jules Kilker is going to respond to this one, and it is, hey, I already eat healthy, or I'm already taking this great expensive supplement. Why would I need to take Juice Plus? So Jules, how would you respond to that?
I'm just still cracking up at Karen's. Don't say that's stupid. It's not expensive. We should do like what not to say when someone gives an objection. Okay, so funny. All right, so I do actually get this a lot. Because I'm in kind of the health and fitness industry as a personal trainer. So people think they're healthy. And also, yeah, like I already take a really expensive vitamin or a really good vitamin that my doctor recommended. So the first thing I think it's really important to remember when it comes to objections is that conversation, when somebody says an objection, the conversation that is about to follow may not be the conversation that changes their mind. Typically, it's not. So do not get into a convincing conversation. You know, we're just there to educate. And so just always remember that. I know in the beginning, I always try to convince people to take Juice Plus, when really I'm just educating them. So the first thing, and Alani kind of shared this with me, is great to do when somebody says, I already eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, is compliment them. I mean, that's great. I think that's amazing. We want people like that on our team. So you want them to feel good. And so I always say something, you know, like, oh my goodness, you know, that's so good. Because I know, you know, when I was personal training and before I was introduced to Juice Plus, I was not eating enough fruits and vegetables. So tell me, how do you do that? You know, and so ask questions. So one, don't get into, you know, a convincing conversation. And two, ask a lot of questions because questions will give you the information you need to continue the conversation. And so you ask them, you know, how do they get that many? And then when they tell you, you can always say, well, are you eating? Tell me about the variety. So you put 5 different things in your smoothie every day. Do you do like different fruits and vegetables every day? And so we're getting them to kind of think. One question you could say is, how do you get 10 servings every day? I find it impossible. You would have to be a stay-at-home vegetarian. I mean, you're blowing my mind right now. Give me all your tricks. There's one girl at my gym. She's so good. And I'm like, give me all your tricks, please. And so, and it makes them feel good. But you know what? They're not getting 10 servings most of the time. When they start to think about it, they're really not. And they're not getting the variety. They're eating the same things, the Brussels sprouts, the broccoli, the blueberries, the strawberries. They're not getting papaya or garlic or what else is in our capsules? Cherries. Nobody's getting bilberries. And so you just want to get them thinking. And then if, you know, you can start if the conversation is going along, you can say, you know, I just want to share with you a little bit of what I found, because to be honest, when I was personal training, I knew I wasn't getting enough, but I did know that there was a difference between the nutrition that I was buying in the store than the nutrition that was in the produce 20 years ago, because the produce today, they think has up to 80% less nutrition than the produce 20 years ago. So we actually have to eat more. And then things are picked before their vine ripens. This is so important. This is one of my favorite things about Juice Plus. The vine ripens. If you go to the grocery store when they're stocking bananas, they're all green. They're all green because they pick them way before their vine ripens. Mm-hmm. And that's so important because all the nutrients gets delivered to that fruit or vegetable at the peak of ripeness. And so we're buying stuff in the grocery store, unless they're growing their own, they're buying stuff that was picked before it was vine ripened, and they're buying stuff that was grown in soil that was depleted of nutrients because of the way we're over farmed. We're over processed, over farmed, you know, food supply. That's basically what we're working with. And so that's why Juice Plus is so great. So, you know, you just kind of weave those facts in to the conversation. And then if they're doing a vitamin, I get this a lot. If they're doing a vitamin, say, you know what, would you be open to hearing why Juice Plus is different than a vitamin and potentially better? Because same thing, you never want to make them feel like their choice is wrong. that is a surefire way to lose the sale, because then they feel shame or guilt. You don't want to make them feel that way. You just want to see if they're open to hearing why it's different. I took vitamins before I heard about Juice Plus. So if they're open, you want to share with them that we have a whole food label. We have an NSF certification. A lot of vitamins do not. That means it's a third party that validates what's in them. I mean, Disney vitamins got pulled off the shelf like 7 years ago because that they didn't have what was in them, what they said. That's very scary to me, especially now that I have kids, and also the research. And you just kind of want to hit on those things. And then if they're open, you send them a video. Do not talk yourself into the sale and then talk yourself right out of it because you're word vomiting all over them. Keep it short, simple, to the point, ask lots of questions, and then follow up with a video. A lot of times you're probably not going to get the sale right then and there at that conversation.
Thank you, Jules. That was great. And I love how, once again, it came back to the feel, felt, found. Even though you didn't say it specifically, you really said, say how you felt before and what you found. And so I really love that. Works so well. It seems awkward at first, but then when you really just get in the routine of using it, it works wonders because it, like Jules said, you're not causing shame. You're just sharing your experience, and your experience could never cause someone else shame for what you have experienced and shared with them. And so thank you so much, Jules and Karen. And I forgot to even say your position in the business. Jules is actually one level away from being a national marketing director. She has an amazing team, and Karen is a senior sales coordinator with a huge team, and they're just phenomenal. Been doing this business a little bit longer than I have, and I learned so much from them. And so our last question for tonight is going to be handled, I think, by Nalani. Do you mind if I call you out? Okay. So the last question is, and this is funny, as you get more seasoned in this business, you don't get these questions as often, but it's funny. Your team that are new under you, you realize are getting the questions that you used to get when you were new. So I've been just getting all these questions. And one of them was, oh, I have to check with my doctor. And it was so funny because I used to get that all the time, and I haven't gotten it in so long that I giggled a little bit. I was like, oh, really? Okay. I understand, because I know people just don't have enough information and they feel that they have to show it to their doctor. So Nalani, please share with us how you would respond to this objection.
Okay, the way I would respond today is very different from the way I would respond 10 or 11 years ago when I started, because then, I would say something ridiculous like, well, does your doctor, if I wouldn't go to a surgeon, if a surgeon studied for like 6 months, would you want to go to a surgeon and learn something ridiculous like that? Because most doctors really don't know nutrition. They just haven't studied it. And they know it themselves. And that's why they err on the side of not saying. However, my answer today I get from Sharon, which it opens the door. It keeps the door open. Okay. So the question, I want to talk to my doctor, then I would say, that's great. You know what? Ask your doctor if it's okay for you to eat. When you think your doctor would say it's okay for you to have fruits and vegetables, and they would stop. Oh, what do you mean? Because this is not a supplement. This is food. This is nutrition. And then I would mention again that on the label, it says nutrition facts, just like a bag of broccoli would say nutrition, or apples say nutrition. They don't say supplement. So if your doctor says that you can't have fruits and vegetables, then this would not be for you. But that's the answer, really. That's the answer to it. However, I would like to reiterate what Jules said. She took the words out of my mouth, too. Well, I guess Karen and Jules both. And that the point is never, ever say anything to counter what they're saying. If they say it's up, don't say, well, no, really, it's down. Because then that's going to put up that wall. And we are there for, and I get this from Eric Worre, too, for education and understanding. And if you go toward a person just saying, you know what, I'm not here to try to get a sale. I'm not trying, because they can feel if you're feeling a certain kind of way. But if you really remind yourself, you know what, it's going to take educational exposures for them to actually buy. So I'm not trying to convince anybody. I just want to let them know about it and see if they're open to learning more. And that's the other question. She said, don't vomit all over people. We don't have to have the answers. We really don't. We get to know what to direct them to. And then once we direct them to a video or to a three-way call, let the other person handle it. And that way you keep that relationship strong. Hope that helps.
Yes, that is so funny. Sharon has taught us well, because I got that objection from my team member and I said, you know what? Well, just ask that person if their doctor is restricting them from eating produce, because that's all Juice Plus is. It's just produce in a capsule. I know it might mistakenly be seen as a medication or a supplement, but really it's just concentrated nutrition. So I couldn't remember where I got that response from, but now that you mentioned it, it was from our fearless leader, Sharon. So yes, I loved all this feedback tonight. And it's just been, I think we're going to continue this even when the Farrars get back, that we're going to have objections. Because I think it's really good to hear how other people respond to objections. I know I always learn a new way to tweak how I'm sharing or verbalizing something. And it helps. It helps for us to know what it is and how to, it builds our confidence pretty much. So that is it for tonight's Monday night call. It is 9:34. We try to get in within 25 to 30 minutes. I know we started a little late, but I am so glad that you guys could all join us. And I'm sure Sharon will want to watch this recording. Make sure I didn't mess up. But I felt like I got some really great feedback from all of you guys. And thank you all. Thank you. I see Nalani saying, thank you all. Thank you guys for coming on. I don't know if I should open it up and see if you guys have any questions. Or you could have been typing in the chat, but no one typed in the chat today.
Yeah, there were some.
Yeah.
Are there any questions?
The only thing I might say is, especially from some of the newer team members possibly, is that if there is an objection that maybe is really intimidating you that we didn't go over tonight, let your leader know, because then we can address it next week.
Good point.
Because we might be thinking of an objection that maybe you're not hearing, and you're like, well, I don't really care about those, but maybe there's an objection that we haven't, talked about.
Exactly. So yeah, keep those objections, like forward them to us or whoever your leader is, and then we can address them during these calls. I'm sure your leader will address them with you, but it's good to hear maybe how different people address different objections. So let's do that. Well, thank you everyone for coming on. I see there's chatter in there. Thank yous. And we'll be seeing Sharon and Doug next week. Thank you to all the leaders too for coming on and answering those objections.
Thanks, Michelle. You did a great job. Yay.
Oh,
Great
thanks.
job, guys.
Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
Night.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.